Peace to everyone. So I'm once again in an argument with other Muscogee people on one of the Facebook groups regarding the constitutionality of what the Supreme Court decided in regards to the freedmen. Now, I tell them to check the Constitution. They say, follow your own advice, right? And so I looked it up, and sure enough, here are the anomalies that I'm finding on the 1979 Constitution. Now, it's not in front of me. I need to print up a copy. But the oath of office of principal chief is laid out very clear. Okay. And part of that oath is to uphold the Constitution of the Muscogee Nation. Now, for the National Council, it mentions that they're to be administered the oath of office. It just doesn't very clearly, say what that oath actually is. But you can assume, rightly so, I would say, that it's going to be the same oath as that of principal chief, only tailored to them, right? So, but they're to uphold the Constitution of the Muscogee Nation. Here's the thing. You look under the judicial section, and I've gone over this like 3 times this morning, and either I'm just not awake, which is very possible, but nowhere in there does it say that the Supreme Court justices are required to swear an oath of office. So, in other words, the principal chief appoints them. He is required to swear the oath of office. The National Council is required to swear an oath of office. But the Supreme Court justices are not required to. Now, my understanding is that they do, in fact, swear the oath of office. My question now becomes, what is that oath of office? Is it the same as that of principal chief? Are they sworn to uphold the Constitution? Because I would assume so. And if that's the case, then even if it's not written in the Constitution that they have to swear that oath, they are still oath breakers by ruling in favor of the freedmen, in violation of the citizenship requirements laid out clearly, the by blood requirements in the 1979 Muscogee Nation Constitution. Now, I think I'm right in assuming that it stands to reason that they are obligated to uphold the Constitution as they acquire their appointment from a man from the office of principal chief, and that office of principal chief is required to swear that oath. So, Principal Chief David Hill, by delaying this process as much as possible, is in fact upholding the Constitution to the best of his ability. To the best of his ability, right? Because, to the best of your ability, it's that's in the oath, right? So, this is the crisis, and unfortunately the crisis is encoded in the very Constitution itself. Now, it could be amended easily. It just has to be amended to say, okay, this is the oath of office for National Council, and yes, the Supreme Court justices are required to swear an oath, and this is what that oath actually is, okay? Unfortunately, we're already in this crisis, and we're already dealing with the fact that they're going back to 1866 treaty as being more valid than the 1979 Constitution by which they acquire their authority. Okay, currently the principal chief acquires his power from the vote of the people, but it's done as laid out by that Constitution, and then according to this same Constitution, he appoints the Supreme Court justices, right? So it would just stand to reason that same Supreme Court would not have the authority to override the very Constitution by which they acquire their authority, and that they wouldn't be allowed to subvert the oath that the principal chief that appointed them is in fact sworn to uphold. Okay, like this isn't rocket science, but at the same time, I can see why people. Now, granted, these trolls on the internet are probably like, well, you should go read it yourself, follow your own advice. Okay, well, I am, and maybe you got me slightly on this, but only slightly. Okay, like they should have to uphold the same Constitution by every metric here, other than the fact that it doesn't say that they have to swear the oath, but they do swear the oath. And therefore they're oath breakers. If they don't, I mean, you could say, oh, but the tribe is oath breakers because we kicked the freemen out in violation of this noble and supreme and holy Treaty of 1866. Well, I mean, we weren't there to swear that oath. No one alive today was there back then. No one alive back then is alive today who had sworn that oath or whatever, right? Or signed that treaty. Yeah, handful of men, a couple handfuls of men were there to sign this treaty, and this wasn't voted on by the people. Okay, so anyhow, now we actually have a means by which we can vote on things. We're out in the middle of the end of the Civil War, right? And trying to rebuild our nation. All of that is, like that's all done. That's been gone for a while. So we can't, even 1979, there's better ways by which we can vote on these issues. Whether they actually really had the 30% vote of all the registered voters or eligible voters, I don't know. Supposedly they did. There's definitely debate about that, and rightfully so in either direction. But yeah. The Constitution's ratified. Those holding office have all sworn an oath of office. It's just strange that requirement for the Supreme Court is not actually clearly laid out in the Constitution. But again, the very person that appoints them is sworn the oath, and his oath is very clearly laid out in the Constitution. So, yeah, we need to amend it so that, like, again, Supreme Court has to swear an oath of office, and what is that oath, and what is the oath of the National Council? I think we're all assuming that it's the same oath, and it probably is and probably has been, but then that's more of a tradition than laid out by law, right? So those things need to be fixed. I still see the 1979 Muscogee Nation Treaty as a supreme law of Muscogee Nation. I think Principal Chief is right. I think it only makes sense given the rest of the framework of the Constitution, particularly as it relates to his office, and that he is obligated to uphold it, regardless of whether or not the Supreme Court wants to, or even whether or not they're under oath to do so. Like they could say, well, I'm not required to, even though I swore the oath, I'm not required to under the Constitution, so I can just go ahead and, change the law because I want to, right? Like they can say that, but what about the office of Principal Chief and his oath? And if he delays the process and tries to find a loophole by which we can keep our Constitution intact the way it has been, I mean, he's actually only upholding his oath to the best of his ability, right? That to me makes sense. Anyway, that's it for this morning. I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I'm waiting for my absentee ballot to show up in the mail. So, because I'm going to vote on these issues. All right. But for watching, and Haram Chichatlis.